You're watching BCTV, Branford's community access station.
This is BCTV, Branford Government Television, a service of Branford Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the Town of Branford.
Let's call the meeting to order.
Okay, call the meeting to order. And could I have approval of the minutes of the January 11th meeting?
I make that motion.
Second.
And any other comments? No? All right.
In favor.
Now we have introduction.
Hold
All
on,
in
we have
favor?
to vote, yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You guys vote.
Gavin abstained. 'cause
Or you
haven't
can
seen
abstain
him.
if you want to.
Yeah, you weren't here for
You
the
weren't
minutes.
here
So it's
for
not
the
that one
meeting.
abstain.
Okay. Abstain.
Two
Okay.
abstentions, 4
Yeah.
yeas. Next month. Next month.
Okay.
course.
Now, the next introduction of the new commissioners. Chief, would you like to take
I
this
thought
one?
as chair you'd like to do it.
Okay, Valerie. Valerie Wilkins, she is the proprietor of the Stony Creek Market, and she's been a friend of mine for a long time, as she's been Rick's also. And she, was willing and looking forward to doing something to pay back the town for all that, that we've done for her. And also John Susilis.
Perfect.
Okay, Parthenon Diner.
Yes.
Okay, and he, of course, is, I've never seen you, and I've been in there, but not.
I'm always there.
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
Great. Unless you're there at 3 in the morning.
Oh, that's,
Maybe open.
that's what it is.
He operates with a table in the corner in the back,
Yes,
there,
yeah.
right there.
Oh, okay, I think I've
So he
seen that.
oversees the whole situation.
So our new commissioners.
Wonderful. Well, thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Very much.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, have you decided what
Oh,
committees they're going to be
how
on?
about Val on traffic? Because you've always been the first one to say to me, that person's been parked here for an hour and 20 minutes. Or wait, I got you the signs.
I have to say I would prefer.
Traffic as
Yeah,
opposed
I
to
would.
budget?
Yes, I would.
And John, probably
you.
you'd be great on the budget committee or finance.
Sure. Welcome.
Okay.
It's
Welcome.
you, Tony, and I on traffic.
Okay.
And the chief, of course. He's on everything.
And I'm with you on traffic.
Right.
Okay. Now, we already,
No, we need to do that.
Now you need nomination.
We need to nominate, I'd like to nominate Joe Marcus for chairman of the police commission.
I second the nomination.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. I appreciate your support.
Now we need
And
a
now we need
nomination for the clerk.
We need the clerk.
Clerk is,
that would be me.
that would be, yeah. All right, nomination for the clerk?
I nominate Rick Goodwin.
And I second that.
All in favor?
Aye. All right, we have one more
He serves as
position.
chair in Jill's absence. Basically is what the job is.
Trista? You're the secretary?
I don't know, somebody to nominate me?
Yes.
Trista Belisi.
Nomination by acclamation.
Okay, thank you.
Don't think of going anywhere, Trista.
No. She has too much fun with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, report of the
We have a
chief.
vote on that.
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So the report of the chief. So the first thing I normally do is talk about the crime the statistics that occur within the town of Branford. And what we do is we hold CompStat meetings, which is a management tool. And in your packets, you could see this, right? So that's so you could follow along with my presentation. So the first thing I normally talk about is the distracted driving and cell phone enforcement. So over the past month, we've issued 333 tickets. 37 of them were for cell phone violations. And then I move right into the ComStat presentation. So basically what we do is we break it down by squad. So we have 3 primary squads. Excuse me. So the first squad is the A squad, which is our midnight to 8 shift. Typically the midnight to 8 shift is usually lower in statistics, or a little bit slower because most people are sleeping at night. However, this is where we have a lot of our property crimes happening. As you could see on page 3 of your ComStat report, it gives you the total amount of calls for service, which is CFS, and the corresponding crime types that we've dealt with over this reporting period. Some of the major crime types that we look at is motor vehicle accidents, as you just experienced in the previous meeting. Traffic is one of the biggest complaints that we get. However, thefts and burglaries and thefts from auto thefts seem to be increasing as of late. Excuse me. Moving forward to page 4. Midnight shift, again, it's been a little bit slow. The cold weather is what was my predecessor's famous saying, that Jack Frost is the
is the best friend of the policeman.
Exactly. So during the cold weather months, you'll see this pick up in the winter time. So I'll go over some of the cases of significance that they had on the A squad, the midnight to 8 shift. Theft from auto and auto theft, it seems like every month we're here. There was a cute little image that they put up on the ComStat. I don't know if it's in the back of it, but the best thing to prevent your car from being stolen and being broken into is this little button over here. There's a lock on it. So when you get out of your car, lock your car so that stuff isn't stolen.
And you don't leave stuff on your seat.
Right. So what's going on is it's not only Branford, it's throughout the state of Connecticut and in other states also. There seems to be a huge rash of stolen cars. What they've done is they've taken the auto theft off of the serious juvenile offenses. So basically when these juveniles are stealing the cars, they go to court and really the penalty isn't that bad for them. Unfortunately, that's what's going on. So this particular incident, the first one here, you can see that the Honda Accord was stolen from the driveway. She left her car unlocked. The woman left her car unlocked the night before. There was a spare set of keys in the car. They came back the following night to steal the car. So if your car is broken into or if your car is stolen, things like if you have your remote for your garage doors, take that remote out of the car or change the code on your garage doors. Okay, if you leave your keys in your car and they steal your keys, you're gonna need to change the locks on your house, just in case they come back and try to break into your house. We had a theft from Jeremoth Drive where somebody walked into a unlocked garage door and stole some various tools. We did a warrant service on Well Sweep Road for a theft of a firearm. So the A squad, the initiatives, they continue to do radar assignments and traffic stops. 19 citations were issued and 7 were for speed. What we also do is break down some of the neighborhoods within town. Short Beach happens to be one of them. Short Beach has been relatively slow. You can see that there's, in the current period, I'm on page 7 right now, there was 1 burglary. Through further investigation, that burglary was found to be unfounded, okay? Which is on the next page. So our B squad is our day shift, so that's 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And day shift is usually busier because what happens is they end up taking the complaints or the from, let's say, thefts overnight, and when people wake up in the morning, they're usually approaching the day shift to take those complaints. Excuse me. So you could see on page 10, the the statistics in regard to the crimes that we monitor. You can see that there was one attempted robbery. We'll talk about that a little bit later. There was 3 theft from autos, 4 behavioral. So those are some of the bigger number of issues that they had during that time period. Page 11 is the breakdown of officer statistics. A is for arrests and MV is motor vehicle charges. You could see that some officers might not have some statistics in certain columns. That might be because they were tied up on different cases, or they might have been off for several days. As mentioned a little bit earlier in the previous meeting, we have 2 officers that focused strictly on traffic. So we had a complaint of speeding on Featherbed Lane, so I'll be assigning those officers to Featherbed Lane on a periodic basis during rush hour time. So when we get those types of complaints, we'll focus those officers as best as we can. However, their primary responsibility is focusing on what we call hotspot areas, where there's a higher level of traffic crashes, and the idea is to change the behavior of the driver so that to reduce traffic crashes. We've been analyzing traffic crashes since 2008. Since 2008, we've reduced traffic crashes by approximately 50%. With that, we have sustained that level of lower crash rate since then, based on our analysis and our deployment of our personnel.
What do you think about moving that sign that says you are going so many miles an hour? When I see that coming up, I start automatically, I start tapping the brake, because it's always more than I think, it's always faster than I think I'm going.
Excuse me.
Do we have just one of those?
We have just one traffic
We try
sign.
to move it around, but
We move it around. In wintertime, it's difficult because of snow and those types of things, so we try to get it out as much as possible. Summertime, we get it out a lot more frequently. Okay, so moving to page 13, this is an interesting case. So we had a theft from auto where somebody left a wallet in their car. So in the wallet was a debit card. The suspect used the debit card 3 times in New Haven. We had a warrant pending for we had a warrant in works. This was all pretty fluid. So 2 days later, we had gotten video from a Dunkin' Donuts in New Haven showing the suspect using the card, I should say. Just a couple days later, on a motor vehicle stop, lo and behold, that suspect from the previous theft from vehicle happened to be operating the car. A field stop was conducted. The operator of the car admitted to having a firearm in the car. He was a convicted felon. The officer Cope, who stopped the vehicle, charged the suspect with criminal possession of a firearm weapon in a motor vehicle without a permit, unregistered motor vehicle, and no insurance. So this person was on pretty much a roll.
oh, it says he was actually wearing the same clothing?
Yeah. Excuse me. We had a residential burglary on Overland Court. This was a forced entry into a vacant home. The house was up for sale. The refrigerator and a stove was stolen from the house. Theft of auto on Abbott's Lane. 2 vehicles were broken into. Electronics, GPS, and a laptop bag was recovered in Stratford a couple days later. Another theft from auto from Damien Road. Again, spare key to the house was left in the car. That spare key was taken. Neighbors saw a suspect in the area. However, there's no follow-up on that. Well, there is follow-up, but we don't have a suspect. We had an attempted bank robbery at Key Bank at 367 East Main Street. This is an interesting case because the fella could have been on, or the 2 guys could have been on dumbest criminals. They probably should have checked the times to see when the bank was open. However, they pulled up to the bank, they put on their hooded masks to walk up to the door to find it locked. So they weren't able to
They
successfully.
kept knocking, right?
Well, no,
They wait?
they were persistent, so they got in their car and they drove to Killingworth and they robbed a bank in Killingworth. And then they came back through Branford via I-95, and we ended up getting into a pursuit as well as East Haven, and they were captured in East Haven. So that the actual bank, this is an attempt, the actual bank robbery occurred in Killingworth, so the Connecticut State Police took that case, and we're going to have a warrant pending for the suspects in that one. So the next case was a domestic dispute, which led into a brief pursuit. The suspect was later caught. We had a criminal trespass on Riverview Avenue. Broken window was located by the caretaker. This had to do with a domestic dispute with personal belongings taken out of the residence. Most of them were retrieved. Attempted theft at Capital Bank on South Main Street for attempting to make a withdrawal with a fake ID. So that person was arrested for criminal impersonation. Attempted larceny and forgery and identity theft. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice a little bit here. So our day squad, we've been focusing on the commercial businesses, continue to do school checks on a regular basis. We had a rash of stolen catalytic converters from the train station parking lot that we've been focusing on, and we continue to do motor vehicle enforcement. Excuse me, moving on to our C squad. Our C squad is our 4 to 12 shift, 4 p.m. to midnight. On page 18, you can see the statistics, just like every other shift has displayed, and you can see that the 4 to 12 shift is typically our busiest shift. And some of the things that they've experienced is domestics, a high level of domestics, as well as shoplifting. Page 19, you can see the statistics as far as arrests and motor vehicle charges. And moving forward, we had a pretty violent domestic dispute at Stonegate Circle. The husband was actually charged and held on a $2,500 bond. We had a shoplifting at Gables wine shop. Officer Abley did a good job with this. Through the video, he was able to identify the suspect on that. A couple missing persons and a family violence arrest. Suspicious activity at the Blackstone Library. It's interesting. There was a case where this person went into the Blackstone Library, and it's this thing called gang stalking.
I've never heard of it.
I've never heard of this before, but evidently I was educated by our patrol officers who did this. So a neighbor received an anonymous letter regarding one of the employees at the Blackstone Library. And what gang stalking is an intense, long-term, unconstitutional surveillance and harassment of a person who has been designated as a target by somebody associated with American security industry. So the letter contained a photo of the employee, which was taken at the library. The employee noticed the individual taking her photo, and this person is known by the people at the library and the police. There's some mental health issues in regard to that. So in response to that, Officer O'Connor went to the library, and he was able to do a presentation for the employees at the library in regard to personal safety and leaving work and making sure that if they have any issues to call us right away. It's interesting that this is occurring right across the street from the police department, but strange things happen. Again, we had another family violence arrest on Briarwood Lane. And motor vehicle enforcement, we continue to do motor vehicle radar enforcement. There was 11 criminal arrests on 4 to 12. We continue to have officers. We're doing some undercover work where we're trying to reduce the amount of car break-ins. So we have a couple officers doing that, and again, in radar enforcement. Moving into the detective division. I tried to make it so that I could read these, but...
This is the longest one I remember seeing in a long time. We normally don't have this many.
They've been pretty busy. Some of them are repeats, assisting with the patrol division. So the detectives investigating a possible poisoning at a healthcare facility. It's not determined yet. The substance is at the state lab for analysis right now. The next one is just the detective division assisting with that's the case with the person with the gun in the car that had broken into the car and stolen the wallet. They've worked on a missing juvenile, and again, the next one you can see is the bank robbery, the attempted bank robbery at Key Bank. The next one is just a follow-up, couple follow-ups. The first one is a follow-up to a case that occurred back in July, where there was an attempted robbery where the suspect went over the counter to try to take money out of the cash register. They served the arrest warrant, and the person is going to court in regard to this now. We had an update on a child pornography case. The suspect was sentenced to 10 years suspended after 3 years. We had a follow-up to a shooting that occurred on 65 North Branford Road, which is in regard to, when I say a shooting, a person's car was shot at, a vacant car was shot at in the parking lot.
That's the one where they filled it full of holes, right?
Correct. So the detective division had the suspect, and they did a GSR, which is a gunshot residue test on the person's hands and clothing, and the test came back positive. So there'll be an arrest made in that. The next one is we had an update. This is in regard to a buccal swab, which is a DNA test on a stolen vehicle. So this was a recovered stolen vehicle that Detective Tobin processed. It was a Nissan Pathfinder stolen out of Mill Creek Place. The vehicle had keys, so there'll be an arrest warrant for this person. This is another stolen car. We had a juvenile that has been identified in a stolen vehicle case.
Can I ask you a question about the first one? The first one, we used the state of Connecticut lab. Is that correct?
Yeah. So, and I know where you're going.
You know where I'm going. So I just want to explain to these guys the difference between.
So we do what's called a local DNA database. We're one of the few. Well, I think we're the only town in the state of Connecticut that does it. There was a while back where we had a problem with submitting DNA to the state lab, where the results of the test would take extended periods of time. And what kind of threw us into this was we had a home invasion up off of Brushy Plains Road, and it took them over 3 years to process the DNA. As you can imagine, by that time, people move out of state, people die, so it makes it very difficult to get this process, the DNA processed. Since then, the state lab has turned around, and they've been a lot quicker on processing DNA. However, we're starting to see a reversal on that with the state of the state, if you will. So what's happening is state agencies, when people retire, they're leaving, they're just not replacing them. So we're starting to see a slowdown of DNA processing again. So we've been very successful using the private DNA lab, which is actually the same lab that the state of Connecticut outsources their DNA to. We use federal asset forfeiture funds. We started with federal asset forfeiture funds to spearhead that program. However, we've rolled it into the current budget right now. So it works very well, and we've had, like I said, some pretty good success with it. Excuse me. Some of these things in here just have to do with some regular administrative stuff. But the next page, you can see that we served an arrest warrant for theft of a firearm, conspiracy to commit theft of firearm, burglary, third. These are just follow-ups from previous cases. We had a juvenile arrested January 28th by the Woodbridge Police when he crashed a stolen vehicle out of warrant. These are just reminders for our officers to follow a certain protocol. Moving on to page 28 is where we get into our crime statistics. So this, you'll see we're only into February, so we kind of, you're not going to see the previous year, but auto theft compared to last year, we're up 2, which is right now a 100% increase. But the previous year, we had 42 or 43 auto thefts compared to the year before was in the low 20s. So we've had a significant increase in auto theft as well as theft from auto. You can see the larcenies are just up slightly compared to last year. The next thing that we focus on are the quality of life crimes. With this, you could see that motor vehicle accidents are very, very slight increase, only 2 greater than last year. Fraud has been on the increase, and I imagine now with people filing their income taxes, we're going to start to see that again. Shoplifting is up or up slightly, and the rest of the crimes are either the same or lower. The next page is just a quick breakdown of the shoplifting that we have. You can see that on the day squad is the primary day for shoplifting, or as I should say, yeah, those are the shopliftings and larcenies. Here's a breakdown. The next page is just a breakdown of the locations where our shopliftings are occurring. And the last page has to do with, well, those are our school checks. You can see that we've increased the school checks this current reporting period. And as I talked to you a little bit earlier in the previous meeting, our traffic crashes, you can see where the hotspot traffic crashes are. They're usually right along the Route 1 corridor, the West Rotary being the exit 53, Starbucks Road area being the hottest spot where our traffic crashes are.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
What is the impact of the Archdiocese's move to consolidate Catholic schools at St. Mary's School in Branford? They'll be coming from Madison and Guilford. What impact would that have on traffic?
I don't think it's going to have very much of an impact. They have to, there's only a certain capacity that the school could hold, and we're prepared for that.
I mean, in terms of busing in, busing out.
Yeah, I don't think there's an issue. I don't think it's the impact will be minimal.
Okay.
Okay. Now that I've lost my agenda.
Page 35.
Yeah, the forfeiture report. So the balance in the federal asset forfeiture,
That's this right here.
you could see that we had a couple deposits. We deposited about $6,500 into the federal asset forfeiture account. We made an expenditure of $4,800 towards ballistic vests towards the regional SWAT team, and $8.15 for evidence processing. What happens is, once we expend our annual budget, we could go into the federal asset forfeiture to augment the regular budget.
And you should understand it's $100 a pop, right?
It's about about $110
For each DNA
Yeah.
test. So we budget for quite a few of them. But if we go over, we have the ability to grab it here.
Okay, so that's the forfeiture report. The next item is we're gonna need a vote, because I'm looking for the approval of the budget, and I'll explain it to you really quick. I know that the new commissioners, I don't know if you had time to look it over or digest it at all. So the way that the budget is set up is that really there's two sections. Okay, the first section is the personnel section. So basically, if you're looking at this page here, from here to 2 lines below the green line there is the personnel section. So right now we're currently in the first item that will probably raise the attention is the deputy chief's position that Commissioner Goodwin spoke about. So we have budgeted for the deputy chief's position, which is going to create an increase in the budget. We're currently in contract negotiations with the unions in regard to a collective bargaining agreement with raises and things, and we're not at that point. So you'll see no raises for the police officers. That's contingent upon negotiations. You do see a slight increase in the police officers' salaries, and that's what's being reflected there is just what they call step raises. So when we hire you, you come in as what's called a grade C patrolman, and as you move along through 3 or 5 years, I forget what it is, there's different steps. So those are minimal increases. So we, over the past 2 years or so, I think we've taken in almost 7 or 8 new police officers. So their year is up, so they're getting a small percent increase. Same thing with the dispatchers. We have a new dispatcher, actually 2 fairly new dispatchers that are going through step increases. You will see an increase in the secretary and receptionist, as well as the clerks. Their contract has been negotiated, their contract has been settled, so you will see that increase. Non-affiliated people, there's no increase in their salaries. Public events and vacations, that is nothing more than the reflective change to staff those events for the people that had the step increases. Longevity went up slightly because there are more people, and I'll explain that to you at another time how the budget works. Accumulated sick payout is an anticipated payout of sick time for a retiring officer. That's contractual, so that the officer could accumulate so many hours of sick time, and that's the payout. The next half of the budget is operational. You'll see a slight increase in education expense. So contractually, what that is the department will pay for up to a master's degree. So typically, we have a lot of new officers that have started, and most of them already have bachelor's degrees, so they're just continuing their education a little bit further. Purchase services went up slightly because of maintenance agreement changes and those types of things. Radio communications, again, that's another maintenance agreement issue.
I have one question for you.
Sure.
My recollection was that education expense was going down. Didn't we lower that?
We did. It's kind of hard to explain to you, but what's happening is we have a lot more younger officers that want to continue their education. So we're doing a little bit of a shift. So the more senior officers already have their education, so they were not for a period of time.
Didn't we have a situation, though, where we had budgeted X and we were way under budget, they weren't using it?
And that's been adjusted, yes, and this is
Since
dramatically lower than what it used to be. Although you see an increase in it, that's because we made an adjustment the prior years. You could see in, so it's a $10,000 increase, so
Yes.
you could see in 2017, 2018,
Yeah.
we had an $18,000 budget
Yeah.
for education expense, but as I just explained,
Yeah, right.
we 50% of our police department, or our patrol division at least, has less than 5 years' experience. So these are all new folks coming on and taking advantage of the education expense.
And then once they get educated, they go somewhere else where they make more
Well, I
money.
wasn't
Well,
gonna say.
again, this is in the budget, doesn't mean it's gonna get used. And we've unfortunately noticed a trend that they're not using it.
Well, and there was an adjustment made for that. And-
Right.
Right, and actually back in 2016, 2017, I
Right.
made adjustments to that, but we have these new people, and if they,
Are you starting to actually see them using it now?
oh, yeah. yeah,
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
All right.
I had a quick question.
Sure.
38,400 deputy chief,
Yep.
RTM. What is that?
Okay, so what that was, last year, the process to try to get the deputy chief's position has been probably a three-year process that we've been trying to get this position in. So when I went before the Board of Finance, Rick and I last year to get that position, their feelings on it, well, they put 33% of the salary into contingency. So a couple months ago, we went before the Board of Finance and the RTM, and to get the position moving, to get it into place, I had to have some money in the budget. So what we did was we did a transfer from contingency into that particular line item. I couldn't offer the job until I had the approval and the funds in place to
We
get
just
it
did
going.
that. Basically, we did that
Yeah.
about 2 months ago.
Okay.
So now we're in the position where we can advertise and bring somebody in, and then next year we'll be in the position so that we can fully fund it.
Okay.
And it's important to say that everybody's on board with that
Yeah,
now.
finance board,
Yeah.
Good.
So really, the increases are nominal. Just the one last thing is just a kind of a housekeeping item. We moved $2,400 from other supplies and we put them into equipment. Just for, we work off a system, it's called Munis, and Munis has certain rules where we put certain items. And the items that we had in the operating system are what they call consumables, so I had to put it into the equipment line item. And really, that's about it. It's a very bare bone budget. So I'd like to request the board, somebody to make.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The injury report, we had no injuries.
That's unusual, too.
Yeah,
We'll take it.
we'll take it. We had a couple letters of appreciation. Well, let me move on to the next one instead of jumping ahead here. I'd like to congratulate Officer Radomski, who recently notified us that she's pregnant, so she's been placed on maternity assignment.
Now, does that mean maternity leave?
No, it's a maternity assignment, so it's similar to a light duty assignment.
Okay.
Okay, so that she's not out in regular routine patrol and
Mixing it up.
mixing it up, if you will.
No mixing it up.
If I said that, if a man said that, it'd be.
Oh,
So I didn't get a chance to read these, so we'll take a quick look at these. We have a couple of, I'm not sure if I should read these verbatim. Sometimes they involve
well, you don't want to give any names.
certain things.
Right.
So this is a thank you letter to Officer Abley. It starts off by thank you for treating the situation with sense of urgency. Thank you for taking my friend's request seriously. She said that you were smart and wonderfully compassionate. Thank you for your kindness and patience in talking with me through the circumstance and making me realize it wasn't the answer. Thank you for encouraging and unbelievable follow-through on your promise to check on me. It appears that this person went to St. Raphael's Hospital, and not getting into too many details about her situation. She's very appreciative of Officer Abley's kindness in dealing with her. This is for Officer O'Connor. Thank you for being so kind and helping me through. She had a panic attack. I won't mention her name. Thank you very much. This is the last one is in regard to our crime analyst, Dominique Bugolto. We were part of a study with several police departments. It was a patrol experiment that we did with our midnight shift, and it had to do with the metro lights. Those are those cruise lights, the red and blue light that you see that are solid on the cars. So we do a lot of strange things here sometimes, but
No need to get into that.
but the idea was to see if there was any impact on nights with the cruise lights on and the cruise lights off, particularly in areas where we have these auto thefts. We are waiting for the results of the study, but Dominique Vergolto, our crime analyst, who is doing a wonderful job, was right on top of it. So I believe that is my report, unless I'm missing something.
Oh, the diaper drive.
Oh, the diaper drive. So the several shoreline police departments are doing a diaper drive for families in need of assistance, diapers. I didn't realize this, but it's quite costly. People that are on WIC or state aid, it doesn't cover diapers, and there's, unbeknownst to me, there's really a huge need for this. So Branford, Madison, Guilford, Clinton police departments are doing a drive to help bare necessities, provide diapers for people who need them. If anybody would like to drop off diapers to the front of the police department, please do so, because I'd like to say that Branford, unused, please, yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the input.
Now, does it, now,
Well, what I'd like to say is I'd like to say that I hope that the people in Branford, we could have a little competition here against Guilford, Madison, and Clinton to say
Okay.
that the folks in Branford are a lot more giving.
are using more diapers?
Well, the front is a little bit at the front of our building where we're collecting the diapers, it's
You want a competition.
a little barren, so I'd like to,
So why can't we collect diapers in the various businesses as well?
we certainly could. We
Just
certainly
like a toy
could.
drive around Christmas, I can certainly have a box.
That'd be
at the
great.
restaurant, and
Val, you could too, right?
I have some posters
there
that
are
I
many-
that I could give
exactly, I have a
you.
poster, and there are many businesses,
Well, I think just
people come
passing the
in.
word on too is,
Yeah.
I
just
think-
telling
Yeah.
people.
Well, there's been media releases. I put it on Facebook. Those types of things. Clinton PD jumped us. They went to Stop and Shop last Saturday in Clinton. So kind of like when we do the give the cop the bird drive for the turkeys and during the holidays. So I'm putting it out there to, not that anybody really watches this, right? But I'm putting it out there to the folks in Branford. If we could fill up our lobby with diapers, we'd appreciate it.
But as
So-
Peter said, only clean ones, unused. Okay, did I have a motion to accept the police chief's report?
So moved.
Second.
All in
Okay.
favor?
Aye.
Traffic.
Okay, we only have two items, both pretty straightforward, quick. First item is a request for a deer crossing sign on Featherbed Lane. State's guidance on this is that they really need to have an engineering study. They discourage it, sign proliferation. Somewhere along the line, people don't look at any signs, but be that as it may. Allegedly, there was speeding, et cetera. The chief has volunteered to talk to patrol and see if we can't increase, and maybe that'll make a difference. People slow down, they won't hit deer crossing. So that's the action that's going to be taken there. No vote necessary on that one. The second item was a request for a traffic light modification at the intersection of Cherry Hill Road and North Main Street, Route 1, State Road. The chief, on his own initiative, when he saw this, contacted DOT, and that's in the process. They'll do a study, and it may be that they'll put an advanced green arrow in or something like that. We don't know. Typically takes 60 to 90 days. We'll let the person that requested this know of the results when we get them from the state. That's my report.
Okay, motion to accept traffic report.
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Report of the chair. I have a question. What does BL officers mean? BL?
So we have three primary shifts. The A squad is midnight to 8. So we have two shifts that actually overlap. So BL shift, they come in at 10 a.m. and they work till 6 p.m. And then we have a D squad, which works 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. So there's typically, when we're up to full staff, there's typically 3 officers assigned to each of those shifts.
And what does the BL stand for?
Be late.
Be late.
But don't be late, it's just the late shift, so.
Okay, well, report of the chair, I think all of the above, certainly, and our next meeting is March 12th, so we'll see everybody back.
I'd like to just let you know that I'm not going to be able to make that date. I'm actually in a work program, so I'm wondering whether or not we might, at this time, reschedule that for the week after. If that works for everybody else.
So what would the date be?
Good question.
7th.
The 19th.
19.
I don't see a problem with that, do you? Anybody?
Yeah, that won't bother me.
Tony, you're here, right?
So if it's for today, certainly.
Can we do it the 20th?
I can't do it Tuesday.
Can't do Tuesdays. Can we do Wednesday the
Wait,
21st?
hey, wait, the 20th. We're in March.
Can't do that one either?
My phone does,
So Monday's not good, the 19th?
Monday the 19th is also a problem for me. I have a meeting that day.
Can everyone else do the 20th? I mean, I can try to change. I mean, I have enough time, but I can try.
I can do the 19th or the 20th.
I can too. Tony?
20th is
20th.
20th,
Just let me know, Joe.
Okay,
okay.
20th?
20th, and we'll do traffic at 5?
Yeah, well, it could be 5:15 if there are
Okay,
numbers.
there's no, okay.
So the 20th is okay with you, Val?
I have to make arrangements, but I
Oh,
will
okay,
try to
well-
make it. I mean, I will make the arrangement. I have
Oh,
enough
okay.
time.
At
yeah.
5?
Yeah, 5
Yeah,
PM.
they're always, the traffic usually is at 5. If there's only 2 items, I make it 5:15.
So Tuesday, March 20th, 5 PM.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, that's fine. Great, thank you very much.
Okay,
Motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn,
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
The preceding program was brought to you through the support of the Town of Branford. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at BranfordTV.org.